Plants vs. Zombies was a franchise that took over the world at one point with its accessible gameplay and charming art style, taking the hearts of many casuals and hardcore gamers alike. It brought more attention to the tower defense genre and blah blah blah, something regurgitated from thousands of rise and fall of PvZ videos. This isn't one of them. I feel like everything that could have been said about that topic has already been said. Well, except for this, because it only came out very recently. Very quick crash course on the history of this game specifically. If you want a rundown of the story of the franchise as a whole, watch one of those rise and fall of PvZ videos. There was like 7 trillion. After the disappointing launch of Battle for Neighborville and its swift death, people started wondering what's next for the series. I don't think anyone was expecting this. The first soft launch of PvZ3 was a weird unholy combination of Plants vs. Zombies and Clash Royale. The game was in portrait mode, for some reason, having you progress through the Devour Tower, where you'd play levels where the zombies progressively gained more health the further up you went, incentivizing you to grind for seed packets so you can then breed your plants so they don't get power crept too much. The sunflower was just something that was always present in your inventory that couldn't be planted, which automatically generated sun, and the art style was definitely an art style. Needless to say, people were incredibly dissatisfied with that being the official third entry in the mainline PvZ series, and loudly expressed their dissatisfaction online. After that, the game got taken down, with PopCap promising to rework the game, but like, what was really gonna change? They made a whole ass game. They're not gonna throw it all out and remake it from scratch, right? A year passed and it was revealed that they threw it all out and remade it from scratch. And holy shit, you can plant sunflowers! We're back to landscape, and the art style isn't ugly as sin! 11 out of 10! This relaunch looked way better than the initial version, so people were optimistic despite there being some weird things in there, like the fact that you couldn't pick your plants, some plants being turned into power-ups, the life system, and the weird ass sun meta. But it was a beta after all. Everything could still change, as shown by this whole relaunch even happening in the first place. Then it got slightly updated with not much changes, then some plants got rebalanced and it became gardenscapes for some reason. And then it got straight up fucking cancelled, and nothing was heard from it for like a year, only for it to suddenly soft launch out of nowhere last month, gaining the subtitle of Welcome to Zomburbia. And now that it's in a sort of finished form, I gotta say, it kinda sucks. Where do I even begin? I guess I'll start with the things I like. The art style. It may look a bit cutesy and safe, but it's alright. The one sound meta. It's easy to comprehend, I guess. That's it. Now onto the bad. Oh god. You cannot pick your plants or see the upcoming zombies. At all! Getting rid of the strategic element of the first 2 games, making this entry practically entirely reactionary. There was only a single lawnmower. I would have been all for it, but it doesn't give you the brief grace period, meaning that your empty lane can be attacked by a horde of bucketheads with 0 ways to prepare yourself for it. Unless you're willing to cough up your hard-earned coins and buy some goddamn power-ups. The game doesn't explicitly push you into using them, but the way high HP zombies tend to spawn in spaced out clumps, when practically none of the plants you're given have any crowd control capabilities, basically screams, "Hey kiddo, buy the fucking jalapeno!" The zombie variety is also really lacking. There are only like 2 real proper specials that were in the first or second game. The Pigeon Feeder, who's sort of a weaker version of the Chicken Wrangler that can only really be countered by Lightning Greed and Bong Choy, because one has crowd control and the other is the best plant in the game. And the bowler, who throws bowling balls at plants, playing a loud sound effect of bowling pins getting knocked over. Which also brings me to the fact that this game's audio design is weird. Why do zombies sound like Freddy Fazbear getting kicked in his fastballs when they die? Why does picking up sun sound like picking up a coin in some old school Flash platformer? Why do the Grapes of Wrath sound so... wet? On another note, why is the pacing of this game so bad? Some levels are hell on earth, throwing the entire population of a small city worth of zombies at you in the span of 20 seconds, while some other ones are 5-second long tutorial levels. There are also a few levels where you're given a large amount of sun, and no sun producers, harkening back to the last stands of the first and second game. Except you don't pre-plant your defenses in this one. The level just progresses like any regular level, meaning it's literally just planting shit whenever you see a zombie on a lane. Additionally, this soft launch has 150 levels, and a measly 12 plans. For comparison, PvZ1's main campaign was 50 levels long, and even excluding the upgrade plans from Dave's shop, it had 40. What makes this a bit confusing is that the previous betas and trailers showed a bunch of plans, areas, and zombies that aren't in this soft launch. It's kinda mind-numbing. Speaking of mind-numbing, Facebreaker! It's now a quick bite-sized daily thing that exists to give you free lives for a few minutes. And by bite-sized, I mean small as shit where often just breaking everything at once and saying fuck it we ball is the most optimal strategy. The game just doesn't really feel like a sequel to either PvZ1 or PvZ2. It just feels like a mobile game, and sure, PvZ2 was a mobile game, but it felt like a proper sequel to PvZ1, and like it wasn't built specifically around the mobile market, while both versions of PvZ3 feel like they were designed to grab a specific section of the mobile market, with the initial version trying to grab that hardcore mobile player base that sinks dozens of hours into Clash Royale while procrastinating on 7 essays at once, and Welcome to Zomburbia trying to grab your grandma and 5-year-olds, like most casual mobile games. By the standards of modern mobile games, Plants vs Zombies 3 is just fine. It could definitely be worse, like, at least you don't need to wait literal weeks to build a neon sign of Dave's face. I feel like if this game, or even its previous version, were just spin-offs, people would have been much nicer to them, as well, neither of them really feel like they're worthy of being called Plants vs Zombies 3. It's very unlikely anything major is gonna change as this game already went through a complete developmental overhaul, so it's probably not worth it to get irrationally mad at this. So if you want more of that classic Plants vs Zombies experience, probably a good idea to get into the modding scenes for the games. I don't think it's very likely that we'll get a true PvZ game for a while. So, moral of the story? Tugboat is the greatest character in gaming! He deserves the world!